So there is now a clash going on between Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, and Dr. Anthony Fauci, the most trusted name in American medicine, who has been wholly consistent and never wrong on the pandemic, whose word is biblical gospel doctrine for about half the country and no one else. But that's how it is right now. Hey, let's talk about what's going on and why Fauci is mad at DeSantis for saying vaccines are a personal choice. Remember, this COVID thing has become less about health and more about liberty as the pandemic continues. I'm Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. I'm a lawyer. I'm also a legal and political commentator on YouTube and on Odyssey. Wherever you're watching, hit like, hit subscribe, turn on your notifications so you don't miss any videos, okay? All right, here we go. So what's going on? Ron DeSantis had the audacity, the unmitigated gall, the temerity to go out and say that putting a vaccine, injecting a foreign agent into your body is your choice. Now, it's important at this juncture, and I'll probably have to say it again, because open and honest debate about the coronavirus and the status of the pandemic and vaccines and everything is not allowed anywhere on the internet right now. You just can't. You can't have an open and honest discussion about it. So I have to be very clear in that I am not making any claims about the efficacy of a vaccine, the wisdom of any sort of health professional. I'm not telling you how to treat coronavirus. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor. I'm a lawyer. And that's horrible enough. I don't want to deal with your health issues, and you should not take health advice from anybody sitting around on the YouTubes without consulting your personal care physician and taking into account, various experts' opinions on the matter. That's just how you should do it. It's not up to me. It's up to you. Okay? I will say your healthcare is actually your personal choice. Weird. I know that's controversial because Fauci just said so, but here we go. He says DeSantis is completely incorrect to call vaccine a mere personal choice. Now, they added that little word "mere" into the headline, but I don't know if that's what Fauci's saying. Let's take a look. Let's see what you guys think about it. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is completely incorrect to suggest vaccines are a personal choice with no broad implications, says Dr. Anthony Fauci, the country's top infectious disease authority, and nobody out there believes that Dr. Anthony Fauci is a top. But that's a different question. If DeSantis feels that vaccines are not important for people, that they're just important for some people, that's completely incorrect, Fauci said after being asked about DeSantis' views during an interview Tuesday with CNN. Look, I already know, you can tell very simply, these two are talking past each other and it's being made into a political thing. Now, I think it is a political thing for both of them, but they're talking about two different subjects. Ron DeSantis is not talking about suppressing the COVID pandemic. That's not what he's talking about in regards to whether or not vaccines are a personal choice. Vaccines, in my opinion, should always be a personal choice because, well, if you're going to inject something into my body, I have bodily autonomy, right? At least according to the Supreme Court. Except you don't. Don't pretend that you do. You only have bodily autonomy if you're a woman who is seeking an abortion, and literally nowhere else. Nowhere else. More on that in a different video. That being said, you don't have bodily autonomy according to Anthony Fauci, however, who says that you have an obligation, a societal responsibility to take the vaccine bigot. So here we go. Vaccines have been the solution to public health crises such as smallpox, polio, and measles, Fauci said, but they rely on wide adoption to work, he added. This is true. I don't know that anybody's actually debating this. And they keep going to smallpox, polio, and measles, but we're talking about completely different scenarios to what we have now. We're talking about non-emergency vaccines. We're talking about decades and decades and decades of research into the effectiveness of it. And we're not talking about compulsion in the same way that they're proposing with the current vaccine. That's why I say DeSantis and Fauci are talking past each other. Yes, in a very general sense, vaccines do rely on public adoption. And when we see vaccine rates drop in specific areas on things like polio and measles, we actually start to see various potential outbreaks in those fields or in those areas, in those specific places where they might have a dip due to an anti-vaxxer movement or whatever that has been, those things have been reported on for the past couple decades in isolated incidents. But that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is still that you're putting a foreign agent into your body and that there is some measure of choice that you should have for that. And what DeSantis is also saying is that if you're vaccinating yourself, you're protecting yourself, which I don't know if people realize this. This is why I say it's gone from a talk about healthcare to a talk about liberty. Liberty is the acceptance of risk. Living in a free society is the acceptance of risk. Living in America is the acceptance of risk. If you want pure security from all of your checklist box of ailments or enemies, then you live in a tyrant society that rules it with an iron fist. If you want immunity from poverty, right, in theory, you go live under communism where everybody is provided for equally by the government. Therefore, there can be no poverty. Now, I know real communism has never been tried, but all the fake ones that they tried seem to end up with people getting shot in the street and all of that stuff. That's a separate question. The reality, though, is that tyranny is very effective at stopping various things. Now, if government agents rammed into everybody's house and shoved vaccines into them, maybe we would knock out COVID tomorrow. I don't think so, but let's just say hypothetically. Let's say hypothetically that was 100% going to work. Would you accept it? It's a difference between the question of health and the question of liberty. And all people are asking is that we get to maintain our liberty rather than living through government diktat. And the government, has created this issue. It's not the people. The people can't be wrong in this because the people have sided on liberty and said, hey, we just have questions. We just don't want to be forced. Like, stop mandating all of this. And the government has answers, and it's get the jab, bigot. So it's not really a question of health anymore. Because if it's a question of health, you talk to your doctor, you make that decision, and then people tend to make those decisions. When it becomes a question of force, of liberty, how far is the government willing to go? If you don't get the vaccine, do they shoot you? Is always the question, because every law, every mandate by government eventually, when taken to its logical conclusion, ends with a bullet. And we're seeing unrest in various countries, France, Australia. We're seeing people who are tired of being pushed down, Canada. We're seeing people marching for freedom in these places because they are worried because they're actually getting beaten. They're getting pepper sprayed. And at some point, someone will be shot for not wearing a mask or not taking a vaccine. And the question everybody needs to ask themselves, and the beauty of a free society is you get to ask this question too. Are you okay with shooting someone in the head who doesn't take the vaccine? Because that's what a mandate is. Someone will get shot. Someone will be killed by a government agent when they just don't want to comply for whatever reason. That is the essential element of liberty, is that you have the freedom to not comply with the government without being shot in the head. And once that goes away, you're no longer in a free society. And in many areas, we are clearly not. But here we go, back to Fauci. When you're dealing with an outbreak of an infectious disease, it isn't only about you, Fauci said. There's a societal responsibility that we all have. And that is terrifying when it comes from someone with government power. Societal responsibility is different than a government imposed obligation. But the thing about liberty, and I'll say it again because I'm going to die on the hill of liberty, I'm sure, is that social responsibility is one thing, but liberty accepts the socially irresponsible so long as they don't violate basic rights of others. And your right to be free from an infection doesn't exist. It never has, and pray to God it never will. Anyway, that's all I have to say on this issue. There's more in the article. Who cares? Fauci is a status and DeSantis is not. That's the big difference between them. That's where the disagreement comes with at the end of the day. Again, I am not telling you anything about the effectiveness, the wisdom, or anything else about COVID vaccine. You want to go get vaccinated? Go get vaccinated. I'm not going to stop you. You don't want to go get vaccinated? Don't get vaccinated. I'm not going to force a jab into you. I'm a liberty guy. Always have been. That's what this video is about. We'll see if YouTube lets me keep it up. Who knows? Anyway, drop a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. And by the way, if you guys like this content, if you need more people in your life hearing about liberty, make sure you share the videos so that other people get to see them too. All right? Because Lord knows, YouTube isn't helping any of us out when we talk about simple things like freedom. All right, guys. Catch you next time. Peace. Peace.